Hello, BookTube. I made the tactically horrible decision to go out into the real world today, and the real world today was rotten. it was hot. The sky was green, like it was going to have, like we were going to have a tornado, and it was extremely windy with huge muscular gusts, and suddenly rainy. Just so that a you couldn't use an umbrella. B, you couldn't keep a hat on your head. C, no matter how closely you held on to your hood, you were still soaked right to your skin. And also, the rain was hitting the window panes here at Hyde Cottage just in bucket loads, and that always makes me want to just curl up on a couch with a puppy on top of me and read. And instead, I went out into that weather. uh, but to my surprise, when I got back, there was mail, more books. So I thought we'd go through those together. I wasn't expecting another delivery, but we have books, and not only that, but it ends in a box. So let's take a look at these and see um, what might be of interest. Let's start with this first one here. Uh-oh. Okay. All right, this is a mid-January release. We are not going to react to these the way we used to. we are going to react to these with a sense of great anticipation and wide open mind. This is Only as the Day is Long, new and selected poems by Dorianne Lau, or Locks, or however you say that last name. That is the cover. A little bit of dodgy light here, but that is actually water at sunset or sunrise. So Only as the Day is Long. It's a collection of contemporary poetry, and it arrives as a balm. A balm? You bring a balm around a baby? A balm for both longtime and new readers of this prize-winning poet. Drawing together poems from 5 expansive prior volumes and 20 dazzling new pieces, the author takes on violence and survival, love and loss, grief and healing, with her signature honesty and grace. Okay, so this comes out in mid-January, and it is a collection of contemporary poetry. And we are not going to shy away from such things in January. We are going to learn how to read them. I am going to learn how to read them, and I'm going to drag you along for the process. So take a look at these. The first good news is that they look like poems. That's wonderful. That's really good. And they appear to be somewhat formally arranged. Let's take a look at one, shall we? Let's take a look at one. This one is called This Close. In the room where we lie, light stains the drawn shades yellow. We sweat and pull at each other, climb with our fingers the slippery ladders of rib. Wherever our bodies touch, the flesh comes alive. Heat and need, like invisible animals, gnaw at my breasts, the soft insides of your thighs. What I want, I simply reach out and take. No delicacy now. The dark human bread I eat, handful by greedy handful. Eyes, fingers, mouths, sweet leeches of desire. Crazy woman, her brain full of bees, see how her palms curl into fists and beat the pillows senseless. And when my body finally gives into it, then pulls itself away, salt-laced and arched with its final ache, I so grateful that I would give you anything, anything. If I loved you, being this close would kill me. Okay, I kind of like that. It's erotic poetry. That is tough to do on its own. I like the anything, and I especially, because I am shallow when it comes to reading poetry, I especially love the gigantic revelation of the last line. In the last line, we are, so to speak, bucked right off the horse. If I loved you, being this close would kill me. You are, in the course of that ecstatic poem, I think you're just assuming love. And then in the last line, it learns that love is not in the picture, and that the narrator of the poem is kind of happy that it's not. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, I would gladly read a whole book. So, okay. So Only as the Day is Long. Interesting. That's interesting. Good. I'm looking forward to this experiment. Let's see what we have next here. We are no longer going to fear contemporary poetry. We're going to have fun with it. Okay, this one is due in May. It's by Cressida Connolly, and it's called After the Party. Don't know anything about it here. Oh my God, another historical novel. More historical fiction. It is the summer of 1938, and Phyllis Forster has returned to England after years abroad. Moving into her sister's grand country house, she soon finds herself entangled in a new world of idealistic beliefs and seemingly innocent friendships. Fevered talk of another war infiltrates their small, privileged circle, giving way to a thrilling solution: the appointment of a great and charismatic new leader who will restore England to its former glory. At a party hosted by her new friends, Phyllis lets down her guard for a single moment with devastating consequences. Years later, Phyllis, alone and embittered, recounts the dramatic events that led to her imprisonment and changed the course of her life forever. Huh. Okay. All right. So I think if it's the years immediately prior to World War II, I think we know who that dark, charismatic leader is. And I think we can tell that the Mitford sisters, at least one of them, are going to make an appearance in this book. Okay, well, interesting. This comes out in early May, and it's another historical novel. It's where Phyllis Forster meets Roderick Spode, who believes that every freeborn British citizen has the right to grow his own potatoes. Anyway, sorry. This is just full of private jokes. Let's see. Let's see what's next here. Oh no! It's another volume of poetry. This one is due in March. Okay. And it is. It's due in March, and it is by an author named Yan Yi, but not Y-A-N space Y-I. It's just Y-A-N-Y-I, one word. And it's called The Year of Bluewater, and it's the Yale Younger Poets series. And Yan Yi is the 113th recipient of the Yale Series for Younger Poets Prize, America's oldest continuing poetry award. His arresting and straightforward poems weave experiences of immigration as a Chinese American, of racism, of mental wellness, and of gender from a queer and trans perspective. Between the contrasts of high lyric and direct prose poems, Yan Yi invites the reader to consider how to speak with multiple identities through trauma, transition, and ordinary life. Foregrounding the power of friendship, Yan Yi's poems converse with friends and artists both living and dead. Okay. And Yan Yi is a poet and critic who has received fellowships from the Asian American Writers Workshop, Poets House, and the Malay Colony for the Arts. And I have one question, of course. Is this critic proof? Is this intended to be critic proof? Am I allowed to find this bad? Doesn't sound like I am. It sounds like this poet's entire career is built on the fact that his poetry cannot be judged. It can only be applauded. But we shall see. We shall see. Now, see, it looks unpromising because there's no poetry here. Those are just paragraphs of prose. And you can't call paragraphs of prose poetry. You can if you want, but I'm not going to believe you any more than if you showed me a picture of a Galapagos tortoise and said this is a poem. I wouldn't believe you. I would just, yeah, this is all just paragraphs of prose. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. I mean, something like that looks kind of like a poem, maybe. But, well, anyway, I don't have to worry about it for a bit. This comes out in late March. And I want to understand more about poetry. I want to get more involved in reading and thinking about contemporary poetry. but on my terms, not on make it up as you go along terms. So I don't know how that's going to work. I imagine how it's going to work, at least at the beginning, is that some poets I will simply have to ignore. So anyway, let's move on. And in fairness, let's hope for no more poetry. So, oh my. Oh my. Okay. This comes out in March. It is by Alexandra Popov, and it is Vasily Grossman and the Soviet Century. If Vasily Grossman's 1961 masterpiece, the novel Life and Fate, which you should all read, had been published during his lifetime, it would have reached the world alongside Pasternak's Dr. Zhivago and before Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago. But Life and Fate was seized and banished inside KGB vaults. Decades later, when it emerged posthumously, its genius was quickly recognized. Figures such as Martin Amis dubbed Grossman the Tolstoy of the USSR. And critics viewed Life and Fate as a war and peace for the 20th century. Notice I'm not disagreeing. In Vasily Grossman and the Soviet Century, the author illuminates Grossman's life and legacy. While examining his life and work, Popov shows that Grossman's ideas are essential to understanding Russia's totalitarian past and authoritarian present. In addition to his fiction writing, Grossman was at the epicenter of historic events. As a wartime journalist, he was among the first to describe the Holocaust and the Ukrainian famine. His 1944 article, The Hell of Treblinka, became evidence at Nuremberg. Grossman's powerful anti-totalitarian works liken the Nazi crimes against humanity with those of Stalin. Okay. All right, a book on Vasily Grossman. Wonderful. Fantastic. I know a couple of literary quarters where this will be met with joy. And this is one of those quarters. And now we have the box. And then we'll be done, because there won't be any more mail today. So let's see what we have here. Hopefully something nice and big. It is something nice and big. Okay. All right. Fantastic. This comes out in mid-January. This is by Jonathan Lee, and it is the finished copy of his enormous new history of Afghanistan from 1260 to the present day. And I know this book intimately, inside and out, because I wrote a review of it, which will be running, don't know exactly when, in Abu Dhabi, in the National. But I am so happy to have the finished copy. This has charts and artwork that my advanced copy did not have, and despite the fact this is 1,000 pages long, it's 700 pages long, I welcome the idea to reread this. I thought it was just fantastic. Just one of those essential. This guy's been studying Afghanistan for his whole professional career, and this is the book that you hope people like that will write. Wow, great, fantastic. So glad to have this as a finished copy. Kind of weird. From a professional reviewer standpoint, it's kind of weird to get the finished copy after you've filed your review. I could very much have used this. Because the finished copy, you have the critical notes, you have the appendix, you have the index. That helps a lot. Those are very helpful in trekking through 800 pages of prose. I made do without it. I took a lot of enthusiastic notes in my advanced copy, and that proved good enough. But it's kind of weird. Ordinarily, the reflex is that when you get the finished copy, that is kind of the spur. You've seen it on this channel. It acts as a spur. Not, in my case, not just to reread the book, but also to get to work on your review. Because if you know that if the finished copy is arriving to you, then the publication date is not far away, and you're going to want your editor to have your copy long before the publication date. So this is a little weird, but that's okay. I'll take it. Fantastic. Okay, well, that was a good little mail haul in the rain. The packages are soaking wet. The books are not, though. So this is for the permanent library. This is Jonathan Lee's Afghanistan, his gigantic definitive book. Then Vasily Grossman and the Soviet Century. I read a lot about Grossman. I read a 2019 book called what was it called? Stalin's Scribe, or something like that, about Mikhail Sharlikov, the author of And Quiet Flows of Dawn. And Grossman is all over that book because Grossman accused him of plagiarism. And so, reading this, I wonder, Sharlikov will probably be all over this. But then we have a volume of poetry from Yale. But a cursory examination shows no poetry, only paragraphs. Then After the Party, a historical novel about the brown shirts. About the brown shorts. About Roderick Spode. Although it'll be the Mitford sisters and their deadly fascination with authoritarian figures, including in this case Oswald Mosley. But we shall see. He was not named in the back of the book, so you don't know why that is. And also, finally, Only as the Day is Long, by Dorianne Lau. A lovely finished copy of more contemporary poetry that's coming right around the corner in January. So that is our last mail haul of the day. So there'll be more tomorrow, but in the meantime, I'll wrap this up and I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.